Welcome to the Motoring Podcast, your weekly discussion of motoring news. This is episode 608 on Tuesday, the 19th of November, 2024. Hello, I'm Alan.
Hello, I'm Andrew. And this week we'll be wondering if a familiar friend is rearing its head in the UK once more. In new car news, we like big boxes and we cannot lie. And in points of interest, we look into the joy of driving. And no follow-up this week. Straight into it, Alan.
Yay! Dieselgate. Way! There is the potential start of what could be a new Dieselgate emissions inquiry in the UK. The Department of Transport has confirmed that at the urging of an environmental law group called Climate Earth, it's investigating dozens of car vehicle models amid concerns of a new Dieselgate scandal. And this is according to Fleet World. Essentially, the government has announced that it started an investigation into more illegal defeat devices. This follows on from all the Dieselgate stuff, basically. That's where it all comes from. And specifically, it is the Department of Transport's classifying vehicles as using defeat devices if any element of design reduces the effectiveness of the emission control system under conditions which may reasonably be expected to be encountered in normal vehicle operation and use. They're also saying they are, 47 different models made by 11 manufacturers are suspected of being more polluting than official readings. We all know official readings are there as a baseline and are not necessarily fully indicative of real-world use.
Yep.
Because we're grown-ups.
Okay, moving on. And this could have been follow-up, but really isn't. Because Rivian and Volkswagen have officially announced the agreement and partnership that we talked about a few weeks ago. But not only that, Volkswagen have increased the amount of investment that it's going to go up to $5.8 billion.
You haven't actually said who they're investing in yet.
Volkswagen and Rivian.
Yeah.
I thought I'd said Rivian at the start. Maybe I didn't. Maybe just only in my mind.
Yeah.
Who knows what is real and what is not?
Yeah, it does happen. I just thought it was best to check.
Yes. This is not really surprising anyone. It's just that they have signed the deal now, whereas before it was announced they intended to. It's two companies in a lot of trouble financially, hoping that together they can drag each other out of it. I suppose. I'm still confused by this.
Also, of course, we've been covering stories recently where Volkswagen is looking at closing factories and making loads of savings and cost cuts. So this is not necessarily going to play wonderfully well in the home market, I'm sure.
Optics are poor, I think, is the the professional opinion on this.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, of course, that Volkswagen has tried hard with software and EV stuff in Germany, and it's not exactly succeeded so far as those of us on the outside can see.
Define tried hard. They've put effort in, but they didn't understand, I think, is what was become clear.
They've done some stuff, and then they've tried to do some stuff again, hopefully when they had some more understanding. And now they're trying to do stuff yet again with hopefully a bit more understanding. But it's going to be a hard sell to, I would imagine, so many Volkswagen shareholders are parts of Germany where there are factories and that kind of thing. It's going to be a hard sell in there. What is in my mind is how they're going to pay for this. Is this actually $5.8 billion being handed over? And I'm sure it's not being handed over in one chunk. Is it actually money being handed over? Is it equity in the brand? What is it? Because no story, we've got story open in front of me here, is from evpowered.co.uk, and it's by Matt Allen, who is very good at this stuff. And this is just an example, but none of the articles actually taught that I've seen that we looked through, and this is one of 3 or 4, actually explains how this is being paid for, what form this takes, whether it's cash, whether it's stock and options, or whether it's some combination of the two.
Yeah, because when this was originally announced, it was going to be a smaller chunk of this to start off with, of the $5 billion as it was originally. That was going to be invested straight up. I think that was around $2 billion. And then the rest would come if, once they hit milestones, more investment, because that's, as you quite rightly put, that's such a loose word and can mean many things. And as you said before, now going back to the unions, when you're talking about shutting plants, making people redundant, removing the jobs for life, removing the bonuses for longevity and all the rest of it, good luck when you're throwing money at a company in a different country.
Yeah. The thing is, of course, it's a different type of spending money, though, in that this is deferred over time as opposed to, oh, heck, it's Friday, we need to pay them.
Anyway, sticking with VW.
Yes, tied on into that, Damien O'Sullivan has been appointed Volkswagen Group's UK chief. Alex Smith is leaving the company at his own request after nearly 15 years of service. O'Sullivan joins Volkswagen Group UK from Volkswagen Group Ireland, where he has been the Audi brand director since 2021. He comes from a finance background. I think that's all we need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, more finance than sales in his backstory. But yes, good luck.
Yep, tricky time for many reasons. Talking of other senior members of companies that are changing and moving to different seats, Hyundai has named a new CEO, global CEO, in Jose Munoz. He is going to take over from the CEO Chang, who is he's been promoted to vice chair.
He is being elevated.
Yes. Munoz has been the president and CEO of Hyundai and Genesis in the US since 2019. From 2022, he had his role expanded to take over Europe, India, the Middle East, and Africa. And now he's got the rest of the globe.
Yeah, here's all of it.
Yes.
You've done all right. Here's all of it.
You've got one of those maps that you scratch off the tin foil just to show what bits are you now controlling. He's got a new bit of Asia now to do.
I do. I've got one right in my line of sight, but it's only the US.
Well, it's a busy time. They've got something like 20 cars coming out between now, or 20 EVs even, between now and 2030.
Mm-hmm. If any brand or collection of brands can do that, then it's probably going to be Hyundai, isn't it?
Yeah.
Next up, I don't want to say the Chinese invasion. That makes me sound terribly xenophobic.
It's not really true either, but never mind.
It's not at all. Not when you look at the percentage of the thing.
Yeah, you look at how many they're actually selling. If you're going to talk about that, then we should have been talking about MG years ago.
Yes. Yes, totally. Anyway, Chinese brand. Right. I'm going to pronounce it Xpeng. It's spelled Xpeng. We've already had a debate this morning about it, whether it's Xpeng, 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 or whatever, but we can't find a pronunciation guide handy. So if you know the correct pronunciation of Xpeng, which does make it sound like the noise a typewriter makes as it reaches the end of a line, then do please let us know. It's going to launch a UK franchised dealer setup and offering, and the Xpeng G6, unsurprisingly enough, is an electric SUV. IM Group is going to be the UK distributor for them, and will be helping them establish the retail network. Coming soon to a Subaru showroom near you.
You say Xpeng, but why we discussed the pronunciation is because it says the G6 Infidel, because do click the link in the show notes. It's an AM online article and it explains more about the car, but we're not in new car news, so we're not going to go into the details.
Okay, I've just been told I'm not going to talk about what I was going to talk about next.
However, it does mention the infotainment system, which runs on the latest version of Xpeng's operating system, which is spelt XMART. Smart. And then it offers the XPILOT driver assistance systems, or Xpilot.
Xpilot.
So that's why
Xpilot. That's it. Here you go. We've got it. That's it. It's Xpilot.
That's why we have been questioning how exactly this should be pronounced, because chucking X in front of words and just to make them your own is okay, great, fine, whatever, but do expect some ribbing from us.
The G6, by the way, is kind of Tesla Model Y competitor, to give you an idea, but it undercuts it in price, and I think it doesn't look like a stuffed duck. Therefore, it looks better than the Model Y.
Looks better than Model Y, but also does look a bit like AI make us an EV SUV coupe.
I thought you were going to say it does look like a stuffed duck. Never mind.
Okay, I'm going to continue on the theme of Chinese manufacturers coming to the UK, but this one has a Stellantis slant to it all. Leap Motor are planning to target 50 UK dealerships by the end of the year, which is going to be impressive. They've only got a month and a half to go. But they have a little bit of a cheat code for this, and it's the fact that they're going to be in existing Stellantis dealerships. They will have 2 Leap Motor models per site. They'll have the small city T03.
That's the one that looks like it's going to murder you in your sleep. In theory, it looks cutesy. In reality, it looks scary.
Yeah, it's not great. And then they've got an SUV that is called the C10.
C10 Glasshouse and stuff does have more than a whiff of Porsche Cayenne in it.
Yes.
But yes, if you look from the A-pillar back, it's like, it looks familiar.
Mm.
But Vertu, Arnold Clark, and what's described as the OEM-owned Stellantis and U, which as far as I'm aware used to be Robbins and Day, which was the UK group that was owned by Peugeot and Citroën.
Oh, okay. Right, do you want to take us to the US and the cluster truck?
Yes, cluster truck. 6th recall in a year.
That's impressive.
For the cluster truck.
It's almost as though you've produced and sold a half-baked thing.
Yes. Universal, I couldn't possibly comment.
Why not?
Well, exactly. They're just awful. This recall affects 2,431 of them, including some built between November the 6th, 2023 and July the 30th, 2024. And at this time around, they have a faulty drive inverter. If the inverter stops producing torque, the driver loses the ability to apply torque to the vehicle using the accelerator pedal, resulting in a loss of propulsion, which may increase the risk of a collision. I can't imagine how a vehicle losing power in the middle of the road could possibly lead to a risk of collision. This, of course, joins the delay in rear-view camera image, which made that illegal, but was fixed with an over-the-air update. This will have to be done physically. This joins all sorts of other fun things, like sticking bits of trim back in place, replacing the defective windscreen wiper, which for some reason in many states in the US, it's perfectly okay to deliver a brand new vehicle with a non-working windscreen wiper. I can't imagine you trying to explain that one to VOSA in the UK, or even in the MOT. And, of course, there is the infamous sticky accelerator pedal because the stickiness on the back of the metal bit that was stuck to the plastic didn't work and was replaced with a really attractive rivet. Just to be aware now that we're entering winter here in the US of A, where there is snow in many places, but not, of course, Texas, where these things are built, and California, then the Cybertruck's particularly good at catching the snow with its headlamps, which, of course, in no way is dangerous at all, impairing the amount of light and vision that you have. And by the way, the big strip at the top is just a big strip of light at the top. The headlamps are little slitty things between the bumper and the lower slab of wavy steel.
Okay, I'm going to stick with Tesla. And a report has come out in America that says that Tesla has the highest fatal accident rate of all auto brands. Now, this is done by the...
It's the safety, Andrew. It's safe.
This is the US Fatality Analysis Reporting System, or FARS, as it's called. And it talks about how many fatal accidents there are per billion miles of driving. And the Tesla vehicles, as a brand, have a fatal crash rate of 5.6. Kia was second with 5.5, and Buick was third with 4.8. This is like not the top 3 you want to be in, by the way. Now, the average fatal crash rate for all cars in the United States was 2.8 per billion vehicle miles driven. So you can see how high they are, of which the Model S, in Tesla's figures, was more than double the average at 5.8, and the Model Y, had a fatal crash rate of 10.6. That wasn't the worst, but that's pretty horrific.
The worst, by the way, was the Hyundai Venue with 13.9. But if you've ever seen the way people drive a Hyundai Venue, then you understand.
I don't even know what one is.
It's a little jacked up hatchback.
Oh.
It's one of the sort of East Asian models.
Oh, okay, right.
It's very much an Indian-developed low-cost model. Anytime I've seen them, they're being driven by psychos because they seem to be trying to make up for the fact they're driving a tiny little Hyundai.
There is a link in the show notes to the Road and Track article discussing this, but I think it finishes off just encapsulating everything that's wrong with the current mindset when it comes to road safety. And that is that they asked the question, quite rightly, so why, when these cars are ostensibly safe, are there so many fatal crashes? Because there's the driver assistance tech and there's the structural integrity of cars and these sort of things. And the IC Cars executive analyst, Carl Brower, just goes, well, it's driver behavior. It's just
the laziest non-answer.
It's just
really
ridiculous.
Totally.
And that is the way, it's not just in America where that is seen. You can see it in the UK. That's why people go, oh, speeding. And you go, well, that's 6th or 7th on the list of the top 10 influences of road accidents or incidents. No, not accidents. Road incidents is speed. And yet that's always put as, oh, slow people down. It's like, ugh.
But I saw a thing pointing that if you give a vehicle that is bought by people who don't really care about driving that much, basically the immediate acceleration that not long ago was the preserve of supercars.
Yep.
And they tend to be not interested in driving, just using it for the commute, all these kind of things, and not paying 100% attention all the time because they're not interested in it. Then as a result, you're going to end up with more accidents because it's too easy to go too fast to get yourself into trouble too quickly that you just can't get out of it when you're sipping on your Dunkins and whatever else. Yeah. And that's the case with a lot in the US. That and the infrastructure sucks. That really doesn't help.
Yeah, because that's sort of really my point is it's always the first port of call is to go, it's the driver. Driver's the problem. Driver. No one, or very rarely does anybody stop and start going, hang on, what about the infrastructure? What about the design of the car? What about the systems? I mean, I know in the UK there is a push, and the last government agreed that they would bring in a road incident investigation branch. That is supposed to be happening, and the sooner it can happen, the better, because I think we can get rid of a lot of these mental biases we have, and we can start using facts and reality rather than emotion and beliefs, which is what we seem to be running on these days. We can use actual facts and reality to help make things safer.
Mm-hmm. I should point out the whole speed and person who's not interested is not unique to the Tesla Model Y as well.
Mm-hmm.
That, I think, brings us to Guilt Minute, doesn't it? The quick break in the show where we ask for a tad of financial support to keep the lights on and the hosting running. If you feel the motoring podcast worth a small consideration every month, then you can become a patron. Different levels of patron include different levels of commitment from us to you, including being able to watch the show recorded live. We also have a small range of merchandise in our spring store, from stickers to mugs and t-shirts. If you don't have any spare cash, we do completely understand, then you can help us by following for free from a podcast player to receive every show as they're released, and by liking and rating the show whatever way your podcast supplier lets you. If you've done all of that, some of you do, so thank you very much, then the last thing you can do is to recommend us to your friends or colleagues.
Thank you, everyone that does. Very much appreciated. Alan, it brings us to new car news, and the perfect vehicle for the now chilly winter months.
There's a new Caterham 7, everyone. The Caterham 7 CSR20 is a road-based Caterham. It's been promised to be the most premium 7, which I think is starting from a pretty low bar.
Yeah, waft leather over it, I think you've already increased, let alone actually fit any.
Yeah, and it's been built to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Caterham for Fat People, myself included.
I was going to say, come on, don't exclude us, Alan. Don't pick on us.
Yeah, I know. There will only be building 20 units. Each of them will come with a 2-litre Ford Duratec and the most compliant of the Caterham chassis setups.
Sounds about perfect to me.
Yes, it sounds perfect up to this point until you get to £79,995, which is quite a lot of money for a toy. It does include being finished to higher standards than any Caterham before it. There are some bespoke options which are only available with this. There are some other bits and pieces as well. There's a lot of options have been added to it and aren't necessarily options. 210 horsepower, 5-speed manual gearbox, 0 to 62 in 3.9 seconds, and 136 miles an hour flat out, which with a flat Caterham windscreen like that will feel significantly faster.
Yes.
You get ventilated front discs, thank goodness, and quad piston calipers as well. Leather and Alcantara, thicker carpeting. Carpeting, wow. A leather central tunnel, satin carbon fiber dashboard, unique 20 edition branded dials behind a leather Momo wheel, although if you do want it to go all fusty and yuck quickly, you can choose suede instead. There's also a plaque behind the seats to donate the build number, and sort of all sorts of other bits and pieces like 15-inch Vulcan wheels. And Toyo Proxy R888R rubber, which is just perfect for those chilly November days. You can order it in kinetic grey or dynamic silver with some bespoke colours, accents, and carbon fibre trim as options. 20 for the UK, 20 left-hand drive for the US as well. 40 in all.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take us to something a bit more practical, Andrew.
Yes, this is a concept from Toyota called the Kayoibako, which is a small urban-centric EV that is a multi-purpose vehicle and is quite boxy.
It is a box.
Yes, but it's really clever, actually. This is why we've put it in here. They've got two examples that they're showing here. One is a urban use one, which could be a mobile shop, delivery van, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got another one for all these sporty people who want to do outdoor activities. There's a kayak strapped to the top of one, and it's got knobbly tires, and they both look ace for different reasons. I want them both. But I just think it's really clever, the level of thinking they've gone into this with, okay, ignoring the reality and my skepticism, but they've gone down, for example, saying things like, if it was a mobile shop and you could use the vehicle's software to help it look after your inventory and stuff and update your other systems, they have thought to that level is really interesting to me. It's only a concept. It's never going to really be, but it might be helping Toyota understand the future of micro EV vans. It might be helping with that. I just wish they'd bring this out. I mean, they won't, but I wish they would. There's clever touches, such as the front windscreen is quite angled, but it's high up where the bottom of the windscreen is. So what they've done is they've got another panel of glass below that. So you've got a strip which is basically your infotainment and your dials, and then below that you can see the road again. And I think that's really clever. Again, because it's a struggle to see out that window down, you won't see what's in front of you. You might impact a pedestrian or whatever. They're thinking about the use cases. But what happens is you can bring all those children that stand right up in front of all those pickups and go, look how tall they are.
Sorry. That's pretty much what I was thinking of. I just couldn't work out what to say. I love the outdoors one. You can even get it with one of those useless little boxes that you can get on the side of a Defender.
Yes, it's for the tryhards.
Yes. I don't know if the other side has a Whittle Wadder as well, which is quite possible. But they show solutions for wheelchair accessibility, for, as you say, little mobile shops in farmers markets, and also others with kayaks and stuff stuck on the top. I really, like yourself, I really like this. I love the cleverness of it. Looks so simple and clean. Yeah, totally. It's just a little bit of Dieter Rams on the outside there. Somebody's going to pick me up on that and say it isn't. This is like a Japanese Berlingo.
Well, that's it. That's 2 weeks now. We've done two EV campers, or what could be MPVs from vans. If
you're saying that's not realistic, go watch Hubnut this week. If that's not real, these aren't realistic enough for you, then go watch Hubnut. And he also talks about convertible campers in vans.
To round out new car news, talk about old cars dead news.
Old cars dead news. The Jaguar F-Pace. We're not covering the logo and the branding this week. We'll do that next week, everyone. We'll let that one mature, marinate in our brains for a little while.
You said mature, not manure, didn't you?
I did say mature, yes. The Jaguar F-Pace. Now, the other week, I questioned. Everyone's going, F-Pace has gone in the UK. That's it. That's Jaguar not making cars anymore. And I questioned on the podcast why they were being so specific in the wording. And the reason they're being so specific in the wording is it's just it's not just the UK, but the UK is one of the markets from which Jaguar was pulling the F-Pace. And they're saying now that it's going to be axed globally in early 2026. They're still going to make it, obviously, for I think at the time we mentioned the Indian market, possibly for the US market. It's still going to carry on for a little while as it is. I don't know if that just means there'll be actually the diesel model and only selling in petrol markets and stuff, but who knows?
Who knows so much when it comes to
who can question who can try to predict the senior management at JLR?
Not us.
Not us.
Anyway, into points of interest, and I'm going to discuss the Lunchtime Read, which is mostly about driving, and it's all about supercars. Supercars of yesterday compared to supercars of today, and how possibly we can get to a similar position in terms of attainability and possibly even owning a car of similar-ish to the supercars of old, because it goes on to talk about how supercars today are just the way out of everyone's leagues. Hypercars are obviously for the very, very, very few. You're getting that same problem filtering down through the likes of hot hatches and actually hyper hatches. This is a really interesting article, and I really love what it has, the conclusion it comes to at the end of it.
Andrew's not actually said who wrote it and whose opinions it is. It's Jamie Cooper, so Mr. Jalco,
Yes.
who's also a fantastic graphic designer and artist, as well as a very good car writer about her.
Yep. I like this article a lot.
List of the week, then. We haven't run out of list of the week. Thank you so much, by the way, for the suggestions we've been receiving this week about ideas for what may have to replace list of the week, given that listicles are not really so much of a thing these days, and trying to find new and interesting ones is getting increasingly difficult. We might be testing some of those out and then asking for your opinions as to what you like over the next little bit. This week, however, Top Gear's Top 9 Viral Car Adverts. Right. So obviously I'm doing the talking in the introduction. That means I'm afraid that we're down to Andrew and his ill-informed thoughts on which one is his favourite of the top 9.
Good God. Okay. Thanks very much. Well, actually, being the Neanderthal that I do have a choice, and I'm going to pick Honda's The Impossible Dream.
Oh, that is my least favourite of all of them.
Oh.
I was only kidding at the start. That is my least favourite. That is my least favourite. It's great and stuff, but it's like I'm actually not a fan of that one.
Okay, so what would you
Never
pick?
really liked it. I'm between two of them.
Well, you can only name one because there's only 9 on this list.
There's only 9, and I've got to take a guess, and I think because it has a bit more car advertising in it, I'm going to choose Rendezvous, the Jaguar one, the whole "it's good to be bad" one, where it go with Tom Hiddleston and Penn Kingsley and Mark Strong, and they're going through why Brits are the best villains in movies and stuff, and showing off the F-Type and some other Jaguars at the same time. That one there is my favorite. There's another one in there which is very, very, very good, but it's far less car adverty than that Jaguar one. So that, to me, by the way, to chime in on the Jaguar branding thing, that
No, we're not doing that till next week.
I know, but that Rendezvous advert is I think that's prime. That nails it.
No, but they're luxury now.
But it's still luxury. It's still luxury. The whole vibe of that is where it should be. But what do I know? I'm yes, what do I know? I don't get marketing. I was told by a marketing director former marketing director some years ago. Then I was told to just leave it alone, Alan. Leave him alone. Stop beating him up.
Right, I'm going to take us on to the "and" finally. And this is titled from the conversation, "I'm a neuroscientist who taught rats to drive. Their joy suggests how anticipating fun can enrich human life." Now, whilst obviously we have picked this because it's rats driving and there is joy, it is really interesting article.
Sorry, I like the "we have picked this." We have picked this in that I opened up the Trello we used for planning last night. It was like, driving rats? What the heck is he on about? But he's actually right.
But there is a lot in this that explains various psychological facets to the story and how they went further with the research they were doing after initial results. And I found it fascinating, but also I think it actually, as a slight counter to the more commonplace narrative out in the world, which is driving's bad, we shouldn't be driving anywhere, you shouldn't own a private car, etc., etc. If you read through this, you'll go to see that actually driving brings a lot of people joy. And we're not all just getting in a car to go to the shops or go to work or go to an appointment. Sometimes we're just going out for a drive. And when it's cropped up on social media that someone says, I went for a drive today and it was great, and you see so many others chime back in and go, you know what, I haven't done that for ages, or I did do that the other day. I want to do more of it. It's brilliant. I came back feeling so relaxed, etc. And considering the state of Britain's roads, whether that's the infrastructure or the other people on them, if you can come back in a better mood, having gone for a drive than when you started, then you are doing very well, and we should not be punishing people for that, in my humble opinion.
I've said before, just a quick reminder to people, the reason this is called the Motoring Podcast is because motoring is a pleasurable sensation. Driving is what you do to go to the shops. You drive to the shops, you drive to work, you drive to do errands, and to do not necessarily pleasurable things. Whereas motoring is a pleasurable pastime. And that's kind of where the name for this podcast came from. And that's why it's Motoring Podcast, not Driving Podcast, because driving can have negative connotations.
Yeah.
That was very deep, wasn't it? I do actually like this. This is really interesting. It is actually a really good and finally. And hopefully one that you enjoy perusing through. Before we do finish off, parish notes. We had a special edition was out last week where Andrew was off wild camping, or as wild camping as you ever get on a car launch, in the Hyundai Santa Fe.
Well, the weather was wild.
The weather was wild. The toilet paper was soft. That was out last Friday. Just have a little bit of a listen to that. And Andrew talking about the 5th generation Hyundai Santa Fe. There's not going to be a special edition this week.
No, I cannot create more time.
Yes, that is the issue. We have loads of stuff stacked up, but just type as always. So we'll be back next Tuesday. In the meantime, do have a little bit of a look at our website. I was going to say have a look at our website. I've changed the layout of the front page. Don't really, it's not wonderfully exciting, to be honest. But don't forget that other than that, between now and next week, you can give us any feedback, share your thoughts for the show at motoringpodcast.com on Blue Sky, at Motoring Podcast on Instagram and Facebook, and on the contact page of motoringpodcast.com, the hub of all our activities. Remember, you can support us financially via Patreon, and please leave a review and rating on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, or however your podcast app lets you do such a thing. Andrew, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Best way to get in touch with me is if you search for Crack Windscreen on Mastodon or Blue Sky. Failing that, I am on LinkedIn as well. Try not to be too repulsed by that. But if you are on there, I am there on my full name. And Alan, if people would like to get in touch with you, obviously really not via LinkedIn, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Well, you can get in touch with me via LinkedIn if you want, but I only check it about once every fortnight. Best for me these days is Blue Sky, where I'm at AJP Bradley. We'll be back very soon. Until then, I've been Alan Bradley.
I've been Andrew Clues.
And safe motoring.